every morning with drive. Being on the grind, know I had to survive. We had to win. Started from the dirt and the rubble. I had to be the needle that was popping your bubble.
Hello and welcome into the Rookie Prospect Profile Series, a Zilla Fantasy Elite production. Today we're going to be looking at wide receiver Ja'Lynn Polk in the wide receiver machine learning models. Is Ja'Lynn Polk poised for fantasy greatness or destined to fade into obscurity? Our machine learning models hold the answers. Stay tuned for the verdict. Ja'Lynn Polk was drafted number 37 by the New England Patriots, the 10th wide receiver taken off the board. They come into the league out of Washington University. Ja'Lynn Polk comes in at a height of 6'1", 203 pounds, 37.5-inch verticals, pretty solid. I ran a 4.52 in the 40-yard dash. Nothing to write home about on that one, but certainly serviceable for a wide receiver as long as he's a good route runner, which sounds like Ja'Lynn Polk kind of got that dog in him. He's one of those guys that's going to come in, he's going to work hard, and kind of a lunch pail guy, come in and just put the woodshed to people. So sounds like a pretty interesting guy here. Just looking at the total picture for Ja'Lynn Polk, he's got an interesting profile. You know, he was the 10th wide receiver drafted in the NFL draft, but his rankings are all a little bit better than 10th throughout all 4 seasons. So let's dive into that first year projection and see what we're looking at. And here we can see Ja'Lynn Polk. He's got the 3rd best minimum prediction in the class, even though he was the 10th best or 10th wide receiver drafted in the NFL draft. His mean and median hovering just above 8.5 at 8.67 and 8.59. Those are the 6th best class in the class. And then the maximum output, 14.62, got a pretty solid one there. 5th best in the class for the rookie season. And the CV at 23.5, suggesting that it's fairly decent. CV is the 8th best in the class. Again, CV stands for coefficient of variation. It's essentially the ratio of the standard deviation and the mean. Anything sub 10% is considered excellent. 10 to 20% is considered good. 20 to 30% is acceptable. Anything above 30%, and it's kind of, hey, we need to look at this data a little bit more. He's sitting at 23.5. And again, that's for any data set. We're working with stuff that's highly variable here in fantasy football, and fantasy output relies on a lot of people. So the fact that the CV here for these 1,000 predictions is in the 20 to 30% range, it's acceptable, but 8th best in the class there. Let's get into what wide receivers in the rookie year were hovering in between 8.5 and 9 fantasy points per game. We have Robert Woods in his rookie season at 8.4, Tyrell Williams and Cortland Sutton both at 8.5, Treylon Burks hit 8.55, Gabe Davis 8.56, Wan'Dale Robinson 8.6, actually a lot of people at 8.6, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kenny Golladay, Darius Jennings, and Dante Pettis all hit 8.6, Rashad Bateman, 8.63. Will Fuller, 8.7. Michael Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba, both last year, 8.81 fantasy points per game. DeAndre Hopkins at 8.9 and Robert Foster at 9 fantasy points per game. So we got quite a few people right in that range. That's exactly where the output is putting Ja'Lynn Polk in his rookie season with those guys. That 14.62, where does that put him? That's actually really good. That'd be the 10th best rookie season of all time in terms of if he hits that ceiling at 14.62. Just below that, we have Keenan Allen at 14.6, Kelvin Benjamin 14.1, Brandon Cooks 13.9, Juju Smith-Schuster and Terry McLaurin at 13.7, and a whole host of pretty solid players a little bit below that, even CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Jaden Reed, Claypool, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Amari Cooper. They're all a little bit in the 13.5 range. Then a little bit above that for Keenan Allen. Tank Dell was the 9th best ever at 15 flat fantasy points per game. Jalen Waddle, his rookie season, 15.36. Brandon Ayuk, 15.38. Mike Evans, 16.3. If he hits a ceiling, again, that's a ceiling outcome, 1,000 simulations, that's what he's hitting. Not too bad there. Let's hop into his second season here and see what changes. We can see a little bit of an increase here in his mean and median. The rankings go down a little bit in year 2 for him. His minimum actually dips down to the 15th best in the class. But again, he's the 10th drafted wide receiver. Mean and median ranks 7 there, hovering in between about right around 9 or 8.75. So we can take a look at that in a little bit. And then his maximum output, 17.57, fifth best in the class again. So both year one and year two, it's saying Ja'Lynn Polk actually has one of the better ceilings in the class. And this CV at 27.6, still in that 20 to 30% range, which is acceptable for most data sets, and especially with our random stuff here doing machine learning, pretty solid there. So 16th best in the class CV in terms of that. Let's go look at who was hitting 9 fantasy points per game in year two, or 8.5 to 9, a little bit above 9. We have Auden Tate and Jerry Jeudy that both hit 8.5 in their second season. Adam Humphries, 8.7. Darius Layton, 8.81. Wan'Dale Robinson, 8.88. I believe that's the second time we've seen his name on here. James Washington, the former Pittsburgh wide receiver, 8.9. Travis Fulgham, Rashad Bateman, both at 8.92. Marquez Callaway, 8.93. And then a little bit of a jump up to Alan Lazard at 9.3. Not exactly an inspiring list of people right in that range, but that's his median outcome there. If we start getting a little bit higher, or go look at his maximum output at 17.57, that would actually end up being a top 7 score of all time. Just above that, we have A.J. Brown with the 6th best ever at 17.68. Juju Smith-Schuster, when he blew up his second season, was at 18.4. Allen Robinson at 19. Justin Jefferson, 19.44, was the 3rd best ever. So we're getting up into that range. Just below that, DK Metcalf, 16.96. Cooper Kupp, 16.90. Sammy Watkins, 16.8. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 16.7. Jarvis Landry, 16.7. Michael Thomas, 16.2. Tyreek Hill, 16 flat in his second season. So we got some pretty solid names there. If he should reach his outcome, it could be, top 10 season all time for second year wide receivers. And then jumping into his third year here, the mean and median still hovering around that 8.5 to 9 range. 7th best rank in the class though, in terms of the mean and median. Again, he was a 10th best drafted, so a little bit above what he was expected to do perhaps with his draft capital there. 12th best minimum, so starting to see maybe, hey, if the wheels fall off there, he could be a little bit worse than his draft capital there. CV at 37.3, pretty high there, but 24th best in the class. Kind of getting into the maximum range, 17.32, that's the 7th ranked one in the class as well. And then the 75th and 90th were at 6th and 5th best. So we see some of the high-end stuff for Ja'Lynn Polk, again, hitting that top 5 range, but still top 7 here. Seems like he's going to be a value. I think he drops way below some of these guys that were being drafted around him, such as Ladd McConkey, Keon Coleman, Xavier Legette, Ricky Pearsall. Those guys are probably going ahead of Ja'Lynn Polk, and it looks like the machine learning model is saying Ja'Lynn Polk maybe should be considered to be ahead of those guys in your rookie drafts. Let's go look at the 8 to 9 fantasy points per game median mean that this is outputting for Ja'Lynn Polk, and see what type of players hit that in their 3rd season in the league. So again, sitting at 8 flat, we see Adam Humphries' name pop up. 8.29, Devin Duvernay and Mecole Hardman. 8.4, Robert Woods. 8.46, Darnell Mooney. 8.58, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Tyrell Williams, 8.6. Deontay Hardy, 8.7. Rashard Higgins, 9.1. KJ Osborne, 9.15. Allen Hurns, 9.2. So kind of in that rough range there. That's, top 75 season in the history of wide receivers in their 3rd season. Looking at that maximum output, what could we see if he ends up hitting one of those max outputs? And we do see on the blue graph there was quite a few predictions there, maybe 4 or 5 predictions that came into that max range of 17, kind of saying he might hit this maximum or close to it several times. So 17.36 was Nico Collins. He was the 13th best ever. Just below that, Deontay Johnson, 17.15. Cooper Kupp, 16.9. Jamar Chase, 16.42. Brandon Cook, 16.4. And then getting a little bit above that, CeeDee Lamb, 17.74. Odell Beckham, 18.5. Calvin Ridley, 18.77. Mike Evans, 18.8. Chris Godwin, 19.6. Michael Thomas, 19.7. So that's the company. If he hits those ceilings that he's going to be looking at, don't really expect him to be as good as those guys. But again, he sounds like he's going to come in, he's going to do his work, and certainly has a path to success here in the first couple of years. And as we saw those first couple of years, the model was pretty confident in the results that it's putting out for Ja'Lynn Polk. And will be interesting to see how that ends up playing out there in New England in that first season with the rookie quarterback there. All right, now hopping into year 4, we again see the mean and median not really changing all that much. He's pretty steady across the board in terms of what it's expecting him to do in the first 4 seasons in the league. Really thinks he's going to be a steady player throughout those first 4 seasons. And if he comes in and he works hard, he probably will be a very steady wide receiver when he comes in. 11th worst or 11th best minimum there at 1.55. But again, the mean median hovering around 8.5, 6th best in the class. Again, we consistently see him better than ranked 10, considering he was the 10th best off the board, or 10th wide receiver off the board in the NFL draft. Maximum output pretty solid at 17.88. Again, top 5 in the class there in the maximum output. It's really what the model is seeing is this guy come in, be consistent. His high end actually is one of the better ones in the class for all 4 seasons. And then it's fairly confident here in the CV, top 14, just outside that 30% range where you kind of consider it maybe not acceptable for a data set, but 20 to 30 in the acceptable range, so he's just outside that. Getting into the 8.6, 8.5 range for year 4. Who was doing that? We have Cameron Meredith at 8.1, Terrence Williams, the Cowboys receiver, 8.4, Dante Pettis, 8.45, Darius Slayton, 8.56, DJ Chark, 8.6, Kendrick Bourne, 8.65, Duke Williams, not sure who that is, but he had 8.7, but he didn't have any fantasy points his first 3 seasons in the league, so I'm wondering if he didn't just have one game that he got 8.7 in. Martavis Bryant hit 8.7 in his 4th season. Paris Campbell, 8.77. Tyler Johnson, 8.8. Devin Funchess, 8.8. Cortland Sutton, 8.84. Jerry Jeudy, 8.86. Albert Wilson, 8.9. And Robert Woods, 9.1. That's kind of the company he's keeping in terms of that median output. The maximum output, 17.88, is really solid, especially for 4th-year wide receivers. That would be top 5 all-time, above A.J. Brown here in the 4th season. A.J. Brown at 17.62, Steph Diggs, 17.6, Jarvis Landry, 16.2, Chris Godwin, 15.92, Devontae Adams, 15.9, Tyreek Hill, 15.7, Michael Pittman, 15.64, Brandon Ayuk, 15.58. A little bit above that, pretty decent leap up to Odell Beckham Jr., 18.5 from A.J. Brown at 17.62, and then a pretty solid jump up to Justin Jefferson at 20.22, and then a pretty solid jump to the next 2 guys, which are the top 2 guys, Michael Thomas and CeeDee Lamb at 23.4 and 23.72. So hopefully we're able to give you a little bit of information about what Ja'Lynn Polk looks like in this machine learning model. Again, we see him consistently above that 10th rank in his rankings for all 4 seasons. It seems like it's fairly confident in his results as well. And really looks like he's going to be the top dog in New England. And this could end up being a pretty good value in your rookie drafts. I know I just got him with the 24th pick in my own rookie draft that's going on right now. So it seems like he could be a value, especially if he's going to be one of those consistent producers, and especially if he starts hitting those ceiling outcomes later on in those seasons. That's saying he could really pop off and be, a top 10, top 15 of all-time 3rd-year, 2nd-year receiver, 4th-year receiver, things like that. So that's going to do it for today's rookie prospect profile on Ja'Lynn Polk, presented by Zilla Fantasy Elite. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.